Thanks to everybody for being over here, and thanks to Michael and his team at CECS for putting this together. I'm really excited. My name is Eshwar Venugopal. I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Finance, and so my actual full name is Bhuvaneshwaran Venugopal. If you scan the QR code over there, it'll take you to my personal website, and that's my email ID. Just a bit of background about myself. I have a Ph.D. in finance from the University of Houston. I have master's degrees in finance and econometrics from Monash, and having all that, I till date I consider myself as a computer engineer. That's where I started off, and my research interests are broadly in the areas of entrepreneurship and innovation, and anything that has to do with the impact of environment on businesses. I'll have more to say about this in the next slide. With regards to my teaching, I've been with UCF for the last 6 years now, and I've been primarily focused on the fintech program over here. I teach the Foundations of Fintech course at all 3 levels, and I've been doing that for the last 5 years now. And when I talk about Foundations of Fintech, I primarily cover how the finance industry is now and what new sectors within the finance industry are emerging, how decentralized finance and other emerging technologies are actually enabling finance. And I also teach the debt and money markets course at the undergraduate level. My research actually typically focuses on 2 main themes, actually. So one is on incentives, the impact of incentives on businesses and people's financial decision. And the other one is about how perceptions actually influence our decisions. And most of my research, I've done that with researchers, primarily finance and econ people in Georgia State and a few other places. The most recent funding that I got is from the Lazardus Institute. It's a seed grant. We are actually trying to understand how state and federal incentives for our research and development actually changes the way in which people invest when it comes to creating new technologies. Broadly, I have 2 research agendas. One is more traditional corporate finance. Over there, I'm trying to understand what are the effects and primarily the unintended consequences of incentives such as R&D tax credits or angel investor tax credits, how these things actually impact innovative efforts and how they impact M&A markets and how money is being channeled by VCs and private equity. My second research agenda focuses on broadly environmental issues. So this includes the impact of climate change also. But most of these papers have actually focused on how when people perceive climate change or pollution, how that has an impact on households' decision to, say, buy flood insurance or do pollution mitigating efforts by corporations. Most of my research actually focuses on understudied markets. That's my approach, actually. So I search for understudied markets. For example, in the VCP literature, I focus on angel investors. And I then go ahead and collect data and analyze that. And most of my papers will have this kind of figure, actually. So it's sort of a program evaluation figure. So essentially, there will be a shock or an incentive mechanism that is being introduced, and what is its impact? Pretty much, I was looking at all my papers when I was putting together this presentation, and every one of them has this kind of picture. I was surprised, actually. It seems I have it type. In terms of impact, I've been publishing primarily in economics and finance journals, such as World Bank Economic Review, Research Policy, Corporate Review of Corporate Financial Studies, and Financial Management, to name a few. In terms of policy impact, my papers on climate change, specifically on how people perceive climate change and how it impacts flood insurance take-up, has been cited by policymakers both in the US and in other places, and have been invited to give input by the FHFA, that is the mortgage regulator over here, as well as regulators in Florida when it's something related to crypto. Media coverage. Recently, I've started getting some notoriety in the crypto space, but yeah. I'm going to talk about one specific paper that I've been working on for the last 3 months, and it is about how environmental pollution actually affects local business activity. So, as you can imagine, we always have pollution everywhere, actually. So, the main problem over here is to figure out, okay, if pollution goes beyond a certain level, what is the impact on the neighborhood? And we are using major toxic chemical spills as our testing ground, and we are trying to figure out how they impact population. The most recent episode that I can give you is the East Palestine incident. Essentially, there was a lot of carcinogens that were introduced into the atmosphere, and that had a lot of impact. We would think that these are one-off events, but when I actually went and studied this, it seems that these happen pretty much on a daily basis. There are about 200,000 different spills that are happening, and that's what we are trying to understand. These are short, intensive episodes that have long-term impact and can produce regulatory changes. And most of these incidents do not even make the national news. We don't even know about them. I've worked in this area. I didn't know about it till I started this project. And what we are doing over here is we are focusing on a 25-mile radius around the toxic chemical spill, especially ones that have led to a large number of evacuations. And what we find is that even if these spills are getting cleaned up quickly, they have long persistent impact. And the impact is not uniform. What we find is that if the establishment is smaller, that is, the firm or the company is small, then they experience higher levels of exit. These companies go bankrupt or they just close shop and leave. Whereas the larger ones, they are not that much affected. In fact, the larger ones, there is some evidence to show that these guys actually benefit when the smaller ones leave the market. And when we actually dig further into this phenomenon is actually primarily led by the fact that small businesses are not able to cope up or bounce back from the economic impact that they face. And even the small business loan program that has been out there does not actually help them in their times of need. Right around the time when a chemical spill happens, the cost of actually getting a loan actually goes up for these guys. So it is a 1-2 punch for these guys, and they have to leave the market. And they have to leave the market primarily because people, especially wealthy people who live in these neighborhoods, they are the ones leaving, which means that they take their spending power along with them. And that means that for a very long period of time, approximately nearly 10 to 12 years, these economies don't bounce back. Right, they actually remain depressed, and the business dynamism goes down for a very long period of time. And certain tests actually shows that industry concentration actually goes up. In other words, the number of small businesses that are being created and the competition in a given area goes down, and the big players basically start dominating the market over here. My research actually has a very common thread. Typically, they look at incentive mechanism, and most of my papers use some sort of natural language processing. My thesis was based on angel investors, which is an understudied market. And contrary to conventional wisdom, we found out that angels actually exert a lot of influence in the choice of exit, whether you go through an M&A or an IPO. The other paper that I've recently published is on innovation. Measuring innovation is actually difficult. Typically, people use patents or R&D investments. We actually went ahead and used the language that executives use to describe their innovation. And more specifically, we looked at what are the new words that people are using to describe the innovation. And we essentially, this is a measuring paper, and we were able to measure innovation pretty much on any listed company that actually talks about their company in general. And one other paper that got recently published is on a product market competition. Once again, it's an incentive mechanism paper. And what we found out over there was that if you provide incentives for people to innovate, but then shareholders and other stakeholders actually restrict this innovation, then firms fight back in some way. They strategically overcome these restrictions by renegotiating with the stakeholders. Right. So my near-term research agenda is essentially going all in on text data. I'm trying to understand how job postings, using job postings actually, trying to understand how labor market demand is changing and how that is impacting innovations that are being done by companies, and how or the way that executives speak about their company, how it impacts their next steps. That is, are they setting goals for themselves, and are they achieving these goals, and how does the market react to these things? I'm actually looking for people who have expertise in sentence topic modeling, or more specifically, phrase-based topic modeling, or measuring intent using text. So essentially advanced natural language processing, and also video processing analytics. And it doesn't have to be just these skills. Actually, it can be anything that even if you're remotely interested in these topics, I'd be more than happy to talk to you. So with that, thank you.